welcome back. You're listening to another episode of Politics Unleashed. I'm Danny, and I've got the full team with me. I've got Chris, I've got Jesse, I've got Michelle. No scripts, no spin, just honest talk about what's really going on. Like, share, subscribe, really helps us with the algorithm, get our message out to more people. So let's dive in. So we're going to do a joint provincial and federal episode, and we're going to talk about this new Tory party that's come about. And Chris, I really want you to lay into that one, so I know I can trust you on that one. And then we're going to talk immigration, because with federal and provincial, there's a lot of issues there. So let's get right into it. Chris, go for it.
I mean, Peter Guthrie is just kind of sad that he couldn't call it the Progressive Conservative Party because he had no connection. Either he or Sinclair had no connection to the Progressive Conservative Party. So now they're calling it the Progressive Tory Party, which is just like an old 18th century nickname for the Conservative Party. So it's basically this weird little attempt at a workaround, but ultimately it's going to wind up being like the Wild Rose Loyalty Party. Two guys running on a platform that no one cares about. We're going to get like 500 to maybe 5,000 votes between the two of them. So the whole thing is pretty irrelevant.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were going to start a new political party, let's just be real. It wouldn't be two MPs or MLAs, as the case may be, that no one's ever heard of, whose background, if you go on Wikipedia before they entered politics, one guy was replacing windshields and the other guy was running a Mr. Loop. So deep down, this is not the foundation you want to build a political party.
Businesses.
Hey, I've got no problem with people in the auto service sector. I'm just saying, if we're looking at a skill set to start a political party with, the transferable skills between running a Mr. Lube or replacing people's windshields are not exactly one-to-one. Ideally, if you were going to try and run as an independent, you should be someone who was like the mayor of Airdrie for like 10 years. Well, I'm just saying, because he's representing Airdrie. So Guthrie's representing Airdrie. So if you wanted to win this as a quasi-independent, you would want to be someone with like deep ties in the community, who everyone knows, who used to go shake all the hands, cut some ribbons, kiss some babies, all that other stuff as mayor of Airdrie for the last decade before you became an MLA. But instead, he was doing lube oil and filters. I mean, that's not exactly an ideal starting position. So, I mean, the whole thing's going to go tits up within 2 years.
So to give you all some context after that little rant, of course, we've got the UCP and the NDP, and then the Alberta Party, thanks to Sinclair and Guthrie, has been renamed and I've got it open up on my screen here now, the Progressive Tory Party of Alberta, because the UCP changed the rules on naming and said you can't use, in order not to confuse people, you can't use the Progressive Conservative Party of Alberta, because ostensibly the UCP owned the Wild Rose and the Progressive Conservative brands when they merged.
I mean, they might as well have just called it the party no one has cared about since they ran off Greg Clark, like a decade ago. That's the last time the Alberta Party was even relevant.
So, Danny, what is even special about their party? What sets them apart from the other parties? And why should we give a shit?
Well,
we should.
Because it doesn't seem that they're a centrist party,
yeah,
which is probably something that might be useful that I wouldn't object to, since the Liberals kind of fail when it comes to provincial politics for whatever reason.
Well, the Liberals destroyed themselves. So back in the day when the Liberals existed, they tore themselves apart.
Right.
And those that were more right-leaning became conservatives,
right,
and those that were leftist joined
right,
NDP, destroying the party
So
completely.
what is this party going to accomplish except for more division on the right? Which
That's
isn't
pretty much
helpful
it.
at all. I don't understand all of these groups that are trying to sabotage Danielle Smith, because if we want to continue in this trajectory, we need to keep electing the UCP.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and Chris, I'm going to say it's a serious threat, man.
No.
Everyone I've talked to.
Hard disagree.
But
because...
hey, you're in an echo chamber maybe, man.
No.
Because the people I talk to actually believe in the Tory. They're already saying
really
that
are
this
they
is
separatists?
No, what they're saying is like they don't feel comfortable with Nenshi, they don't feel comfortable with Smith. They're looking for an alternative.
No, they're not. All those people will wind up voting for the NDP. And they probably did in the last election. So they're not really a danger to Danielle in any meaningful fashion. The actual threat is like the separatists. Because
Right.
you as much as the good thing Danielle has going for her with the separatists is it's a group of people currently run by a bunch of idiots who look like truck drivers, talk like truck drivers, and have the IQ of truck drivers largely.
Wow.
So
He's vicious today.
what's basically keeping them from being any kind of threat to Danielle is basically the retardation of their leadership. But the thing with the separatists that makes them dangerous is the far right of the Conservative Party in Alberta is always much more willing to decamp. And it only takes like 5% of the Conservative vote switching to some other Conservative Party to actually pose a threat. The centrists never go anywhere because, for the most part, they're very wedded to the idea of holding office, and they value the tradition and the relationships and power above all else. So they never go anywhere. It's the hardcore ideologues that you always have to worry about decamping. I mean,
Do you think Tory's going to go to they're going to appeal NDPs?
No, I think what will happen is no one will vote for them. That's what's happened to the Alberta Party when they've tried to be the centrist party for over a decade.
That's true.
And as I said, the last time they were even kind of relevant was when Greg Clark was their leader, and that was over a decade ago.
But Chris, times are different. We've done notwithstanding multiple times. People are pissed off. We had a protest at the Ledge that was the biggest in history.
But Mandel was a far more well-known person than Peter Guthrie. Mandel was mayor of Edmonton for 8 years. He had been a cabinet minister in the Progressive Conservative Party, and he couldn't win his own riding, let alone win any riding in Alberta, leading the Alberta Party. And Mandel had a way bigger profile, had way more money, and way more political experience than Peter Guthrie. Peter Guthrie is a nobody by comparison. So the idea that suddenly...
There was a photo with Lukaszuk.
Who cares?
Gross, irrelevant.
I'm just
They're coming together.
Oh God, what a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing though. He won't win a single riding. Like, I would put $100 up right now that Peter Guthrie will lose his own riding in the next election because he runs in Red Deer. And there's going to be some mayor or city councilor or some business guy in Red Deer who's just licking his chops.
Yeah.
Because he's going to get a free ride to boot Peter Guthrie out of office. Because you run as a UCP in Red Deer, you know, the election is more or less over.
Yep.
There's going to be a huge nomination contest to get that. And then whoever runs against him is going to win. Same thing with Sinclair. You go to Sinclair's Wikipedia, and most of the thing is about his major junior hockey career. And then at the end it says, oh yeah, before he got into politics, he was working at Auto Glass. So, I mean, the guy's accomplishments are mostly playing major junior hockey in Saskatchewan.
So you could say that his accomplishments could be summarized on a blank piece of paper.
No. Apparently he has a very illustrious career in low-level junior hockey. But be that as it may be, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have any success in politics. The danger is obviously, to me, for Danielle, is that the separatists start their own party, and all of the yahoos that showed up at the convention go and start supporting a new separatist party.
What percentage do you think that is?
Of the people who vote for the UCP, I don't know, maybe like a third, potentially, if they got all of them to go. And that's the actual danger. The danger isn't this whole, Progressive Tory Party, because it's a joke. I mean, this is clearly just two disgruntled MLAs, neither of whom were ever even members of the Progressive Conservative Party, let alone participated in it. So they also are not individuals of any political stature. So it's just they took over a moribund little political entity that hadn't done anything in more than a decade, and now they're going to go down in flames.
Yeah, I agree that if the separatists actually create an established party, they will be quite a big threat that will ultimately hand the win to the NDP. Unfortunately, their movement, like Chris says, it's not, you can't really respect it because a lot of people, yeah, he just said it. Okay, they look like rednecks. Okay, they might not be the smartest individuals out there. They're not really well spoken. And I think that if they actually want to gain more traction, they need to improve their optics and get a professional out there in the front, in the spotlight, and also it would benefit them to make the group more diverse and less white. And again, I don't like to play identity politics whatsoever, but if they really, really want to make it...
She suggests non-white.
Yeah, but that's the thing. We're in 2025, now 2026 soon. We need to kind of play by more modern rules, and that's the only way you're going to get ahead. You need more diversity, and you need professionals at the forefront of this movement. None of the truckers like what Chris had articulated, because it makes you lose credibility as a group. You just seem like this weird redneck fringe, when in fact they do have a lot of reasons to be separatists. I'm a separatist. So yeah, we just need to improve the optics of it.
But there is a referendum, right?
I thought it was the beginning of 2027.
Well, Lukaszuk collected all the signatures for one, as much as he's trying to beg off of it now.
Right. So for everyone watching still, after that little tirade, what is interesting to note is that the separatists went out and said, we're going to make a petition. We're going to go out and get signatures. And so Thomas Lukaszuk in response went out and said, no, Forever Canadian, we're going to go out and get our own signatures. And he did so. He got 460,000 signatures. Yes. And his paperwork, when it was filed, he's now saying, no, it was a citizens' initiative. The premier should have to discuss it in legislature and vote on it. But if you look at the paperwork he filed with Elections Alberta, it clearly states a referendum. So Thomas Lukaszuk, in order to prevent a referendum on separation, went out and got signatures and succeeded for a referendum on separation.
Stupid.
So if there is a referendum next year, honestly, I don't think it's going to pass. I think at
I
best...
don't think it will either. I think that we're going to stay a part of Canada and keep shelling out money to our sugar baby out east that is not providing us any sugar. That's what it feels like.
Because I think at best,
so...
It
could be
feels
abusive.
So abusive.
I don't know. It's just like, good job, Tom. You really staved off the threat of an election by collecting all of the required signatures for a referendum.
But Thomas is not smart. Thomas just loves attention.
But he's up to something.
Yeah, but he's always up to something. Yeah, but no, that's just what he does. He's just a sly, sneaky man, right?
Chris,
and he's an opportunist. You're right. He's an opportunist. I never anything he does. I'm just like, he just wants attention. And
Lukaszuk's going to run for something.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my $100 bet. So you got your $100 bet, and it's true. The separatists in the party, if they don't, there's this purity test. If you're not conservative enough, that they'll take their ball and go home and form their own more conservative party. And it's like, yeah, but that's only you and everyone that thinks like you. The rest of us don't give a shit. So here's what I think is going to happen.
So I will say, we did successfully overtake the Progressive Conservative Party as the Wild Rose. It took longer than we ever thought it would, but we got there. Danielle's now the leader of all Conservatives. Mission accomplished, belatedly.
Yeah, that was the long game.
Anyway.
But what would Thomas even... Is he going to run for MLA again?
Because Jesse's right. The value that man can bring, right? He's got 460,000 supporters across the province. These people are probably going to willfully support his candidates, right? So he's either a kingmaker in who he wants to endorse if he doesn't run with the Progressive Tory Party. And
I think he's going to run.
I think so too.
Guys, Thomas is beloved, whether you like it or not. I've seen him out there. I've seen people flocking to him. I've seen people schoolgirling for him.
I know, it's weird.
It's a reality we got to accept.
The thing is, the only thing for someone like Thomas to actually run for, where he could win, would essentially be for him to supplant Elizabeth Olescu or whoever in Edmonton City Centre as the federal Liberal candidate. Other than that, there's not really a clear place for him to run within Edmonton. Maybe he could take a shot.
I think he has a vendetta to become the Premier of Alberta.
Well, it won't happen.
He has a vendetta.
As I said, this whole
very sneaky.
Progressive Tory Party is going to flame out in one election. And they're going to get like a few thousand votes tops. It's a vanity project by two guys who are disgruntled.
What if they replace Nenshi with him? That seems more
credible.
Would
be hilarious.
And I think that he would do a better job than Nenshi. I will say that. As much as I hate Thomas Lukaszuk, I think he would do an exponentially way better job.
He went to the parliament the other day and talked, like he was the speaker of Alberta,
Right.
for God's sakes.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Nenshi in that last video kind of looked like he had a stroke.
He looks weird, anyways.
You're
but yeah.
spicy today. Like, you need to take it down several notches, sir.
so
I'm not
here's
saying he did. I just said he
Usually
looked
I'm
like
the
it.
one who has all the attitude, who's
So-
like, hold my beer, girl.
legitimate criticism is Nenshi as a candidate and a leader and someone to win. So I would, for our viewers, please go Google Nenshi's comments as a mayor. I believe it's an Edmonton Journal article you'll find where he said, or Calgary Herald, sorry, where he said that being mayor was difficult and some days he didn't want to show up to do the job. And so that's how he felt about running a city. Now he wants to be the premier, right? He's leading a party. I think that is more likely because remember this, he became the leader and then it went months that he didn't have a seat. No one was offering one up. And I think that was because the longtime NDP MLAs in Edmonton were like, screw off. We're not bending the knee. This is our territory. And the ones in Calgary who'd fought very hard campaigns, and some of them, I think one of them won by 22 votes.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, no, we just got elected. There's no reason for us to give you a seat. If you were government, then we could we know that we could give you a seat and get a nice job out of it. But that doesn't exist. So I think that Nenshi, if he stays on as leader, look, the UCP are going to win again because Nenshi.
Nenshi's a beta. He doesn't have alpha male energy. He's flaccid. I don't know what else to call him. He's just he's
a good
weak.
one.
Yeah,
Flaccid.
he is.
He was the best of the worst choices, let's be honest. If Lukaszuk came in there, he'd probably...
Lukaszuk would be a strong choice.
Wipe the floor with him.
And that's only because Lukaszuk can actually be charismatic on the microphone.
Right.
Charismatic. Yeah.
And if they actually want to win, you have to put someone who looks good optically, who can speak well, and who has that kind of charismatic energy about them. Nenshi has none of those things. He's not attractive. He's not that smart. He's not charismatic. He's just a weak, flaccid man. Sorry, Chris's energy is rubbing off on me.
I know, this whole side of the table.
I can feel it permeating.
Yeah. It's like our first episode when you went after Knack.
Yeah. He's
The
a snake.
Goblin Turtle.
He's weak, loser.
I
He's
sound like
supine.
He's a weak champ.
weakest man I've ever
The
seen.
weakest man.
I mean, Chris, you're right, though, because he was stepped on in later episodes.
Yeah, I mean, those photos of him really kind of bore out my whole categorization of Knack as weak, supine, lacking in any kind of vigor. I mean,
Can we, Leanne, when you're watching and editing this video, can you please clip those pictures of Knack where he's laying down like this with his legs up like a little schoolgirl at a sleepover? Please,
Yeah.
please clip it in.
I'm a little tired of the Thomas Lukaszuk fan club over here. I'm like,
I hate
don't know.
him. I'm just
The
saying.
guy hasn't won an election in 10 years.
Totally.
He's been elected to absolutely
But he
nothing.
I
would
agree, but
probably literally be media #1 this year.
Right.
He
He's
is.
picking up so much traction.
got
He's
momentum.
got a fan group. I hate the guy, but game respects game. He's doing a pretty good job. So if the NDP actually wants to win, that's your man, not Nenshi, not that weakest man ever.
I watched the debates for the NDP because I wanted to, because I've heard them all speak before.
Yeah.
And I will say this: Calahoo Stonehouse, holy hell, you can't talk. It is a pain listening to you speak. I went to a meeting where they were discussing the redrawing of the boundaries, and you could tell that the panel, that was like 15 minutes of their time wasted. So thank you for that. But I was surprised that Hoffman and Ganley, who I thought were much better speakers, that's a damning indictment for them as well, because they've been around for a long time, and the party faithful, or whoever bought memberships, decided that this nobody, who, as much as he wears orange or purple and he goes, oh yeah, no, I don't play sides, but he only ever did photo ops with the NDP, right? So he clearly chose his side, and now he's opportunistic and he's jumped in. I thought that those two would have at least been a better option than him, because like I said before, it's so hard. I don't want to show up to work sometimes.
Well, at least with Hoffman, we get lobster bisque all the time. She's always having her annual lobster
That's
fest.
a big lady.
Yeah, the former health minister.
Now it's all coming back to me.
Yeah. Ganley's the stronger.
We need to really work on who we appoint for certain positions. Really, health minister?
Yeah. Well, Ganley was the stronger of the two of them, but regardless, If Lukaszuk, now here's the question: if Lukaszuk becomes an NDP candidate, where the hell do they put him, right? Because Notley had to step aside as leader, and then had to resign her position, her seat.
Danny, I think their goal is all the recalls. One of those seats are going to be flipped.
Oh, none of those seats are
None
going
of
to be
those
flipped.
seats are going to be
I
flipped.
know, but
None of
that's
those
the
recalls
intention.
are actually going to be going to actually go through.
Yeah.
I mean, they're basically not collecting enough signatures because they have to get thousands of people, and it's usually thousands of people more than who voted NDP in any of those elections. So good luck. I mean, the whole thing is just an exercise in creating a nuisance for the government. I mean, to the point that people are now accusing Newdorf,
Nathan Newdorf, yeah.
of having been playing 4D chess and
Yeah.
having taken out his own, or having someone on his behalf take out a recall
That was
petition
brilliant.
just to kind of set it on some dusty back shelf,
Yeah.
never to be seen again after the $500 or whatever
Don't
it
they
was.
know who
was made.
registered it?
They do, and apparently the guy's not really returning emails.
Yeah, no, all these people are reaching out. We want to take part.
They're kind of ghosting him. It's hilarious. I'm like,
So you all understand what's going on here. So with the recall petition, they have to get 40%, and we've talked about it in previous episodes, but they have to get 40% of the electorate who voted in the previous election in order to sign on to the petition. And it seems like this petition is going nowhere. And the other thing to consider is that this petition can only be done once. So likely, and this is all supposition, we don't know, but Nathan Newdorf or someone in his team took out this petition and then just let it die. Because once it dies, another petition can't be taken out until after the next election. So this would be a brilliant way to protect yourself against recall by starting it, letting it die, and then nothing can be done about it. But I also want to say about recall, and we've talked about it before, even the NDP, even Nenshi has said that recall's flawed, it's stupid, that if elected, he'd get rid of it. So to everyone who's losing their minds on Twitter about recall and how it needs to happen, the party you ostensibly support would get rid of it and thinks it's stupid. So why are we getting so worked up and mad about recall? It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. It's just a lot of bullshit.
Yeah,
Sorry, now I'm getting spicy
But
too.
it does put you on the offensive. It does put you on the offensive as a party. I mean, I've heard people talk that like it might incline people to put resources away from Edmonton to Calgary.
Well, that was going to happen anyway.
I know, but it doubles down. I mean, there is at-risk ridings. Like we can't be naive to that.
Well, so as someone who ran in 2023, I will let you know that the city of Edmonton was all but ignored in the campaign. To be perfectly honest, they focused on Calgary. Calgary was the battleground, and they won it. So in this next election, I strongly suspect it's going to be more of the same. Sorry, Edmonton. There might be 2 or 3 seats that are winnable, and those the resources will go to, but the rest of it will be on securing Calgary.
yeah, I mean, in the city, they'll try and compete in a couple of the North End ridings.
Yeah.
Decor and Castle Downs.
West
and
Henday.
they'll probably try in West Henday and
Edmonton
Southwest.
Yeah.
Those will be the 4 ridings that the party actually tries in. The rest of them, not so much.
Yeah.
There'll be candidates and there'll be campaigns, but it would be like found money if we won any of them.
Can I bring up a thing about the CAs? Actually,
Please.
and you might know this, but there's a bill that's getting passed where essentially Smith is going to sign off on every nominated candidate. And the CAs are apparently pretty upset about it. Because even though it's a formality, in the past you guys would present, the CA would present something, but now Smith is actually going to sign off. And I hear that it's because they don't want separatists being nominated.
I don't even know where to begin with that. So I do know that the premier, there were certain candidates, and I still see them comment about it, where they had something on social media that the party didn't like, or they said something during the campaign, so they got removed, and a new candidate appointed. And I think the premier could appoint up to 4 people to be a candidate in a riding. But what you're saying here is that she would have to sign off on the people.
Every single one.
Interesting.
I don't think that's even a good idea because
I think it's
a lot of this, and I understand her concerns about separatists.
That's just me
being elected, and that's fair.
Yeah.
But a lot of people who support that movement, it's not like we want to be separatists. we've been forced into that position. But ultimately, it just means that our loyalty is with Alberta above anyone else. When we were creating policies for the federal party, I created one which didn't get support, surprisingly. It got a lot of support, actually, but it didn't make it to the AGM at the end of January, and it's to fix equalization, to reformulate it. But of course, we didn't get that much support out east. That's not surprising to me, so that would be quite unfortunate if that's the reason why.
Well, I mean, the thing is with the whole separation thing, like, how many separatists were there in Alberta when Stephen Harper was prime minister? Like 0.
Exactly.
It was like 5 guys in a bar mumbling into their beer.
Exactly.
And they were all wearing black cowboy hats.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's, by the way, if you ever go to an AGM and you see a bunch of assholes wearing black hats.
They're not.
No. Like, here's the thing. I believe that the referendum on separation needs to happen. Let's have the vote. If it fails, it fails. If it passes, it passes. If it passes, it's going to trigger years of negotiations with the federal government to see what Alberta gets.
Which I don't think it's going to amount to anything, because there's no way they're letting go of their ATM.
No, but that's the thing, is they're going to promise a lot of stuff, and then they've already seen that if successful.
I want it in writing.
Well, if the referendum's successful, then the federal government has seen that the will is there. And it means that those people who weren't separatists before realize that it's strong enough, and that if the federal government makes promises and then backtracks on them, then now those people who weren't separatists will now more likely to become separatists, because they saw that the will's there and that they saw that the word was broken.
But how many times do we need to get taken advantage of before everyone else wakes up? That's the thing.
What I think is next year there's going to be a federal election. Pierre Poilievre will be prime minister.
Hopefully.
And then all the separatists will just go home.
Yeah, because we don't want to be in this
separatism
position.
Over.
Right.
Because that's exactly what happened when Stephen Harper was prime minister.
But here's the reason why I'm not a staunch separatist, even though I see there's a benefit to it economically.
You're warming up to it.
I'm warming up to it, but the problem is, look, is it Mitch Wilson? No.
Mitch Silvestri.
No, Mitch Silvestri's the one, yeah. And who's is it Wilson? What's his first name?
What is his name? I mean, he's the only one of them
that's what I'm getting at, is he's the only one of them that's any reasonable, and the rest of them are Keith Wilson. Yeah, Keith Wilson is the only one that's reasonable, and the rest of them are yahoos.
He's the only one that comes across like he's read more than 5 books ever.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, that's my issue with the movement, and like we talked about early on, is that it needs better optics. It needs a better face.
Maybe I should become the leader of the Separatist Party.
Good luck, because you're not crazy enough for them to want to listen to you. Because you got to get in the door first before you take over.
What are you talking
about?
Listen, you don't want to try and deal with those people. I mean,
yeah.
But
moving on to another subject, we dipped into some federal matters. Let's talk about immigration, because that's been a big issue. So, Chris, what you shared with me here is apparently we have 4.9 million people in Canada on expired or soon to be expiring visas. And Edmonton businesses are claiming they can't find managers for $70,000 a year in salaries.
Yeah, I mean, Michelle Rempel-Garner was on Twitter, I think it was today, putting out a clip of her in the House of Commons saying that we have almost 5 million people on expired or soon to be expiring visas. That's a huge number. And the government really doesn't have track of any of these people. And once you're on an expired status in Canada, you're subject to removal immediately. Unless you're essentially being dropped into a war zone, then you can apply to stay for like humanitarian and compassionate reasons.
Yeah, but lots of people use that excuse falsely. There's lots of people from India that have tried to claim asylum, but their country isn't being hit with a huge war like how it is in Ukraine. It doesn't make any sense to me. And that's 4.9 that they know about.
Yeah. But essentially, I mean, we should be ramping up our own efforts to deport people who don't have any legal status in Canada. They don't belong here. And it's essentially a huge cost to our economy. And the idea that we should be cultivating this kind of low class of unskilled worker to basically compete against our seniors and teenagers is just kind of a really kind of indefensible policy. So that's why no one ever really wants to address it, because bringing in all kinds of third world labor to basically try and get compete teenagers out of a job. How do you really defend that? It's a horrible policy.
It is. It's a slap in the face to Canadians that this is their home. It's always been their home, and they want to live here and they want to die here. And we're we're just disservicing them in so many ways.
Well, hold on. I mean, we have MAID. We can make it really easy to die
Oh
here.
God, it's awful what we're doing.
I don't want to touch on that one,
It's
but
no, it's awful. But aside from actually keeping track of these people and deporting them, firstly, we should actually have people at the border that are approving these cases actually do proper interviews with anyone seeking asylum, refugee status, anything, even student visas. They need to be interviewing them properly, because right now you could just enter the country and you just say, "Oh, am I a terrorist?" No. Okay, check. And then you just go in.
And I think the minister said there's a backlog, so she's letting them in.
Yeah.
And going after them later.
Right. Well, and they can't
That's
keep track of them.
They
can't keep track of them. They just come here, and then they're gifted, like, what is it, $85,000, free everything.
Yeah. And
What are we doing to our own people here?
like, not only are we letting these people in, but we're giving them walking around money.
Yes.
We're putting them up in hotels. We're paying for their expenses. We don't even do that for people who live here. Like,
We don't do
citizens.
that to veterans that have sacrificed their lives for this country.
Yeah.
There's so many people I know personally that are barely making like 60 to 70 grand a year, and these people are coming in. They don't give a shit about our ideologies, our
Are you
beliefs.
talking about, like, what type of people? Like refugees, just immigrant, like who?
Refugees,
but I think it's
asylum seekers.
but they're economic refugees,
No,
right?
not
Because
always.
Not always.
I don't think so.
No, not always. But
I think that Smith's issue is actually having people economically contribute.
right, that's the thing, because there's nothing wrong with immigration when it's done properly, when it's in responsible numbers, and you're actually only allowing people that are educated and they can contribute to society. But right now, we're bringing in people that have vastly different belief systems than we do. They don't respect our culture. I mean, it's in their doctrines. And people, if you're thinking, "Oh, that sounds racist, that sounds prejudiced," read about it. Why don't you actually read their texts? Why don't you actually see what they're talking about behind closed doors? And, "Oh, not this. Oh, I have a friend and they're so and so, and to my face they're really nice." No. You need to see the conversations behind closed doors.
Here's
Look that up.
Can I read a startup cost
Yes.
for a single person coming as a
Yes.
refugee? I actually have it here.
Go
I'll pull
ahead.
it up. So just one person coming. Staple allowance is $228. Basic clothing $400. Winter clothing another $200. Basic household needs $620. Furniture allowance $1,600. Linens another $100, and then utilities monthly $80.
That's fucked up.
So it's almost 20 some hundred a month, basically.
So we're basically paying everyone who walks into the country a pension.
So
And
what?
a better pension than we give our
Yes.
own elderly people.
Our own elderly
Like, we'll give
people and
people
our
like
own
800
veterans.
bucks as like old age security
higher,
and
yeah.
pension.
And all
And
the
we're paying
people,
just some randos who've never contributed a dime
and it's
to our
funny
country, $2,200.
because the people
It's
that
crazy.
have created these policies, I'm sorry to say, most of them are boomers. They have just disserviced younger generations time and time again. So not only, it doesn't matter if we go to school, we get degrees, we work hard, we still won't be able to afford a house. We're barely living check to check, and you're going to import all of these people here to boost up the birth rate because we can't have kids, because we can't afford to have kids. You guys are the biggest assholes ever. You should be ashamed of yourselves.
you struck a nerve with that one, Jeff.
I mean, and it's disservicing. Like, it doesn't matter if you're on the right or the left. You have to admit, they've fucked the system up entirely. They've used it to their own advantage. They've made their own rules that even if you play by those rules, it doesn't matter because you're not from that generation and you've just missed your
So
shot.
Smith is trying to take it back for Alberta, right? Trying to manage
Yeah,
it for
I
Alberta.
think she basically wants to make it so that if you're not actually a taxpayer in
Right.
Canada, you'll have to pay for education, you'll have to pay for healthcare,
And you
you'll have to
should.
pay for all these government services for until you've been here paying taxes for a certain number of years, and it makes sense. I mean, why is everyone who walks in the door suddenly entitled to everything the rest of us have had to
Right.
work for
And
an
then
entire life?
an MLA NDP posted about it, and I love what he wrote. Okay, I'm just gonna read
Yeah.
it here. His name's Sharif. He's on the north side.
Hmm.
You mean cutting health and education programs from immigrants' children is the solution? That's the question.
Yeah, aside from
So
deporting
he's
them.
making it about,
He's trying to bring in
kids.
he's trying to bring in kids. He's trying to play on the heartstrings. But the reality is, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the reality is, if you can't afford to make your way here, then don't come here. Stay in your own country. Let them take care of you. Why is your country not stepping up?
Well,
Don't come here. And also, I don't want you guys to come here because you guys are honestly, their birth rates are increasing, and people that are actually here, that this is their home. They've been here for generations and generations. Talking about indigenous people too. We've disserviced them. Like we've disserviced people that have been here for several generations, English and French too. There's so many different groups of people that they can't afford to live anymore. And we're bringing in all these people from countries that have very, very differing values than us to boost up our birth rate, and they don't contribute to society. A lot of them are living off of welfare. Yes, some of them work. Yes, some of them are educated, but a lot of them overwhelmingly are taking advantage of the system that you are paying for with your tax dollars, and they have no respect for any of the service that you're doing to contribute to their own well-being.
I mean, fundamentally, it comes back to one thing. Like, taxes are essentially your time because you have to spend your time to make money, and the government takes a portion of your money and therefore your time. So, why is some random guy, just because he shows up here from Syria or Afghanistan or pick whichever third world country these people are coming from, entitled to your time?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know him. You have nothing in common with the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He has no real right to be here.
Well, because
I
it's
mean,
the
he
right
wasn't.
thing to
They
do.
weren't born here. I mean, they have nothing in common with
Yeah.
the rest of us. They're essentially strangers.
Yeah.
So why do they have any entitlement to anything from us?
Right.
It goes
Also-
even deeper though. It goes deeper.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to the city of Edmonton's housing sites right
Mhm.
now, the main image screen pop-up is old foreigners in affordable housing. It's just a picture of old foreigners. And then you hear that seniors themselves aren't getting housing. So not only are
Right.
we giving money, but we're prioritizing immigration
That's
in
the
the housing
problem.
system.
We're prioritizing these people that are strangers to this land. They've contributed nothing here. They don't have the same values as us, and we're pushing aside seniors that have made Canada their home, or either they were
Just
born
anyone
here.
that needs a home.
Right? Anyone that
Yeah.
needs a home. Look at all the people that are homeless right now. Instead of prioritizing that, we're just flooding the gates with more people and giving them money instead. It doesn't make any sense to me. There's nothing humanitarian about shitting on your own citizens.
There is an interesting position here when it comes to immigration. So we normally only talk about Canadian politics, but I want to dip into American politics because
Yeah, I love
it serves as a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
So when a Republican president, when a conservative leader says we need to secure our borders and we need to remove illegals, everyone loses their shit. How racist, how bigoted, how dare you? You know, we need these people, and it's like, well, we have a lot of people of our own. But also the liberals or the Democrats, the people on the far left, where they say, oh, we need to keep these people. Diversity is our strength. It's like, yeah, but you also live in like the whitest neighborhoods possible.
But that's also not true. They're just good at lying to the media, and they're good at lying.
Oh no, it's very true.
Their
They live in the
PR
whitest
is
places
excellent
possible.
because Obama had millions of people deported.
That's the point I want to make.
No one
is
ever
Democrat
talks about
presidents.
that because everyone loves Obama. He speaks well, he presents well, he's democratic, he's a person of color. I get it.
Yeah, no, that's the
I
other
mean,
issue.
he did the same shit.
Yeah, no, that's the thing is when you look at the Democrats or the liberals doing it, well, I don't think our liberals are capable of doing it because they don't know where they
I
are.
wish they could.
And Sean Fraser's an idiot. What a smug asshole. He was a terrible housing minister, a terrible immigration minister. He's destroyed both of them. But
He's kind of bashing Smith, right?
I mean, I don't care if he bashes Smith. He's ineffective and useless.
Yeah, he is.
Like, don't throw stones when you're incapable of doing
But
anything.
he's got more power than us, technically, as a housing minister for the feds.
Sean Fraser is basically the worst politician of the modern era. He has the reverse Midas touch. Everything he touches turns into shit. I mean, he was the housing minister, and housing costs rose exponentially. He was the immigration minister. He destroyed what had been like 100-year consensus in favor of immigration in Canada by basically flooding the country with third world labor. Now he's going into the justice system, and watch that degrade into further and further futile senselessness, where we continue to allow everyone out on the streets creating chaos and don't bring about law and order. But I do want to go into one little sidetrack with Danny here, because Danny's talking about American politics and how they do things. My favorite thing in American politics was when the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, and Abbott, who's the governor of Texas, started putting people on buses and planes to sanctuary cities, because these people said, "We love immigrants. We love
They
them.
pulled a rough
We're
line.
we're not going to deport anyone." And they started putting people on buses and sending them to the sanctuary cities, because you want them, you got them. You know, and so you
And
had
look how quick that turned on a
Oh,
dime.
yeah.
Is it
They-
Edmonton
they-
a sanctuary city?
they rolled
It
up
is.
they rolled up to Martha's Vineyard, and surprisingly, despite their big signs saying we accept everyone and are a sanctuary city, suddenly they weren't a sanctuary city at all when the problem appeared on their doorstep.
Oh yeah, no, the goons came out and got them back on buses.
No,
and
no,
sent
the
them out.
military rolled up, and those people got the heave ho real quick. And we don't have the infrastructure to deal with them, or some bullshit like that.
Yeah.
It even happened in Chicago. They said they were a sanctuary city, but they started redistributing those people to the suburbs as quickly as they could to get rid of them. So it's all this performative nonsense from the left,
It is. It's very
regardless
performative.
of what country you're dealing with. They don't have any actual solutions to problems, because it's all the prism of how they feel about things, as opposed to what would actually work. Which is why you're seeing a Mark Half Measure Carney kind of twist in the wind, as he's like, well,
You
we
guys
have.
come up with that?
I don't even know if I came up with it, but it makes sense, because that's Mark Carney's whole shtick. Because Mark Carney is basically now at the head of a band of losers who've had terrible ideas for a decade, and we're running out of money. So he's kind of groping around in the dark, trying to figure out how he can suddenly lead a bunch of retards out of the wilderness and somehow put us in a position where we don't go broke. And he can't actually commit to any of the things that would work because he has a gaggle of losers behind him who don't want to listen to good sense. Otherwise, they wouldn't be liberals in the first place. So he's essentially kind of coming up with all these kind of like half-ass measures that won't actually move the needle on anything. Like, oh, we're going to build a pipeline, but it's going to have so many conditions on top of it.
Right.
It would never
It's
make
not
any
gonna
money,
happen.
and it'll never happen.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's the
except
memorandum of nothing happening.
that Mark Carney has approved a pipeline in the like there's a LNG pipeline in the US that's going to come in that he's approved and fast tracked it.
Yeah,
So
of course, but it has nothing to do with us, right?
has nothing to do with Alberta.
Exactly. That's the thing. The left needs to understand that they are employing these rich lefty globalists to run the show, which is funny because these are the same people that hate the elite. I hate the rich. I hope they eat each other. No, they're all globalists. They only care about themselves.
Yeah.
Well, because ultimately all of this kind of like environmentalist posturing leads to the kind of thinking that's causing Saskatchewan to export all its potash through Washington State. It's literally easier for them to drive through Alberta, ship it down through Washington State and Idaho, and have a port in Washington State ship it to the rest of the world. And now Danielle's out there threatening to do the same with oil. Well, we're just going to build a pipeline to the States. It's easier to get the American government on board with us building a pipeline through to Washington State, using a port there, and sending it out of the country that way, which is ridiculous. It should always be easier to go through your neighboring jurisdiction in the same country to export things. But because we have BC being such a dysfunctional, as Jason Kenney put it, they're being run by a mud hut socialist. According to apparently the former BC Premier Horgan, who referred to EB and parts of his own party as the Mud Hut Caucus, essentially saying they were so anti-development and so anti, any kind of positive economic development that they essentially want everyone to live in mud huts, like we're back in the Stone Age, which is really the mentality of it. And EB is basically this rich trust fund lawyer who was all about environmental activism before he was in politics.
Yeah, I didn't know he was as much of an activist as he was.
But
I've
that's
seen
what it
clips
is,
now.
right? What did he just say? Trust fund. You guys are electing these trust fund babies, these globalists, to run the show. They don't have your interests at heart. They don't give a shit about you. They give a shit about their buddies and themselves, their wallets,
Yeah.
their investments. They don't care about us.
Well, and the irony of all of this is that it's, oh, well, we don't want another pipeline. Oh, we want a moratorium on tankers. Except that from Alaska, there's what, like 280 million gallons of oil that gets pumped, like shipped down the coast every year, and so it's okay for the Americans to do it. And as an interesting thing, and this is years old information, but 80% of America's coal is shipped out of BC ports because the American environmental activists were so successful that the company said, "Screw it, we're just going to ship it up to Canada, and they'll ship it out of their ports," which BC is super happy to do. No Alberta oil, but we'll take that
What?
American coal. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
because of course not, right? Because they like the money, but it allows them to hide it as best as they can, so the rest of the public
Exactly. It
doesn't see
allows
it.
them to hide it, and they like the money.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
They're just a bunch of globalists, man. They don't give a shit about us.
Well,
and
That's why people want to separate, man. Like,
yeah, but then,
you keep listing these insane things, and you're like, fuck the separatists. That's why they exist.
okay, but Michelle, separation's not a good solution because even if Alberta separates, there is nothing that guarantees us access to ports. I don't care about UN declarations because here's the thing: Canada has successfully taken the U.S. to the World Trade Organization and won on softwood lumber. The WTO has said, yeah, you're right. The U.S. can't be doing it. And guess what happens? Nothing, because there's no international
I think we
organization.
can make a deal with the States.
international law is largely fake news.
It is.
It only really
Yeah.
works if you all agree that it's going to work.
Exactly.
Otherwise, as soon as someone says no, it stops working.
Right.
I mean, I had this argument when I was in law school with the international law teacher. And she's like, oh, well, some things work on a day-to-day basis. And I'm like, yeah, like when we all agree to what the postal codes are going to be. Because it's in all of our interests to agree on what the postal codes are going to be and not have like conflicting postal codes and that type of thing. Where it works for everyone is when international law works. As soon as it doesn't work for someone, international law completely falls apart because there's no real enforcement mechanism.
Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing then. Just build pipelines through the U.S.
Yeah.
and give up
Yeah.
on Canada.
Pretty
And
much.
stay, but it's like, because here's the thing again.
We have no other option.
Well, we've touched upon it. Like, there's, even if we vote to separate, it's not going to happen immediately. So just
No,
assume
right.
that the country is not going to support you
Exactly.
and build through the U.S.
Well, you
Exactly.
just need to get rid of the liberals. I mean, here's one other.
Here's to that.
Yeah, I mean, but here's one other thing to everyone: don't put rich kids in charge of anything.
Yes.
Because there's a 3-generation rule to most family fortunes to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
It essentially is the first person is hyper competent.
Right.
Their child is not incompetent enough to lose all the money, and by generation number 3,
Oh God, it's
they're basically spoiled and useless. And look at Justin Trudeau, for example.
Mhm.
It's Grandpappy Trudeau who built up the whole family fortune for the Trudeaus.
Mhm.
And what did he do? He was a gas station mogul in Montreal. He owned he owned like at least half of the gas stations in Montreal at one point. So ironically, Trudeau comes from gasoline money. And then his father was a prime minister, and he was a bad prime minister and did all kinds of damage to the country with the Constitution and what have you. I don't even think he really envisioned that the courts would be as wild as they turned out being, in fairness to him, but he was a bad prime minister all the same for basically giving away much of our democratic sovereignty. But then we have his son, completely useless, and has left the country a smoking economic ruin until he was essentially chased off by his own party because they were basically facing like a 220-seat election,
Supermajority.
which would have essentially left the Liberal Party as roadkill. And, I mean, then they basically pulled the whole bait and switch with Mark Carney and then pointed at Donald Trump and said, hey, look over there, Trump, Orange Man bad. And tried to gin up the fear of the boomers over
It worked.
a U.S. invasion, which was fake. Because the thing is, right now, the U.S. doesn't want us. Our country is so poor and dysfunctional.
Yeah.
The U.S. thinks we would be a liability. If the U.S. was allowed to take select parts of Canada,
Oh, yeah, they would.
okay,
They
yeah,
would
yeah,
take
the
us.
Republicans, when in power, would probably take a look at Saskatchewan and Alberta
Yeah.
and say, okay, these places have all the oil, they have all the natural resources
Yep.
that we want, and they're the most conservative part of Canada. Let's wave them on in. But the rest of the country, they would say, yeah, that can be something else. We don't want it.
Mhm.
So Jesse, you've been quiet for a while there. You want to jump in on
Yeah, I
it?
don't know what the topic is anymore.
Well, we
We're
touched
just
upon.
We're talking
ranting.
about Trudeau's pass, or what are we?
I know it's a bit of a welcome to the ramble.
Let's dial it back to what we were talking about
Jesse
originally.
just
So
dissociated.
now that we were talking about immigration, we wandered all over the map. But Jesse, if you needed to hire a manager for your coffee shop, do you think you could find one for $70,000?
Not in Canada. There's nothing. No one. There's no one willing to work. There's literally no one willing to work. Apparently.
Apparently.
Yeah, I mean,
Apparently.
there's local Dairy Queens now saying, and other businesses. I think there was a Bottle Depot saying they
Yes.
couldn't find any kind of manager or assistant manager to work at any of these businesses for between $70,000 and $80,000. I mean, which is such a joke. I mean, they're clearly just lying to the government to qualify for these temporary foreign workers and
Yep.
International labor mobility programs.
So how does that even happen? Like you have to actually write the government. You have to post an ad claiming
So
you can't hire someone.
They'll post it somewhere so obscure you can't really find it. Like
Mm-hmm. Except Reddit always finds it.
Reddit always finds everything.
Yeah. Well, like for 2 days we advertised on Craigslist.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. They won't actually, invest
posted
in
one
proper
twice.
advertising. Correct.
Yeah.
So it's false.
And then you wonder why, and it is what it is. But you go to a Subway,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone is the exact same demographic.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Tim Hortons, it's all the same demographic.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of coincidental, right? Like it's.
Well, there was a story the other day in Ontario where a Conservative MP was publicizing that there was a Tim Hortons franchise that was going to change hands with another franchisee. And he actually went at Tim Hortons on social media because what was happening is the retiring franchisee was selling his business to another business owner who also owned Tim Hortons, another franchisee. And that deal, the situation was going to be the retiring guy actually had some Canadians working for him.
Mm-hmm.
And the new purchaser, who owns other Tim Hortons franchisee, was going to let every single one of them go and replace them essentially with foreign workers. So that MP started raising Cain to the point that the Tim Hortons, the overarching national corporation was stepping in and saying, "Oh no, we're not going to get rid of all the workers who work at the existing franchise.
Yeah, so
We won't let that happen."
There's an article. Tim Hortons lobbied MPs for more temporary foreign workers for 18 months straight.
Yeah.
And got a bunch of them on their side to push forward some kind of bill that they wanted to actually get in.
Yeah, honestly, no one should actually go to Tim Hortons anymore.
No.
I mean, the donuts.
It's not ethical.
The coffee's overrated.
He's talking about the food.
Yeah, and it's made by third world labor.
Yeah, I've seen awful videos of them reusing cups and employees washing their feet and like preparing food with their hands and like everything's just gross, man. There's so much cross contamination. Like, don't go there. It's not the same company we used to go to often. These jobs, especially like retail jobs, they should be going to younger Canadians trying to establish themselves, especially teenagers. It's so important to have work ethic. And of course, seniors, that they just want to have a part-time job, just a few hours
Okay,
to
this
socialize
article
and do
is, you know what
something.
Tim Hortons actually said?
Hmm.
Tim Hortons is partnering with industry group Restaurants Canada and the broader restaurant sector to address 70,000 vacant jobs.
Sure they are.
How are there 70,000? When are we in like a labor?
Yes, and
Like
then
you see lineups down at the convention
Right.
centers.
We have
And
like
then
between 7 and 9% unemployment.
And then think about it. Look at how many people they're struggling. They can't find jobs, or worse, they're homeless and they need a job. We could solve all of the issues if we just stop allowing these people in our country and actually take care of people that were born
Okay,
here.
someone said the other day though that Canadians just don't want to work.
Well,
Those
it's a
types of
lie.
jobs. Is that true?
It's a lie. I mean, every time you go online, you read young Canadians essentially screaming out for any kind
Right,
of
they're
work, whether
But
it's
it's
begging.
easy to say
full-time
that
or
online.
part-time.
I wonder.
Yeah,
No,
but no, you hear all
it's
these kids are
every
like, I
day. I
applied
see
for
it.
hundreds of positions, I haven't got anything. And, you know, it's a terrible position to be
Yeah.
in. I mean, because a lot of these businesses, when you look at them, they're basically running the reverse Family Guy color swatch. I mean, you go into a business and clearly they're all the same ethnicity. You go into some of them, every single person they hire is from the Philippines or from India. And, you know, none of them were ever born here.
Who's John Davies again?
He's the leader of the
Oh
NDP
yeah,
right now.
he says the system needs a complete overhaul, and he thinks there are Canadians who would take those jobs.
Yes,
Yeah,
of
of course
course
there
there
were.
are. And
Of
here's
course
the
there
thing, to anyone listening to this, I realize that you're seeing like three white men talk about like, oh, colored people this, colored people. Like, it's not about that, okay? Like, I'm a first generation Canadian too. When my parents came here, they had to jump through all of the hoops. The government made sure that they had education, that they had similar values, that they were going to contribute in society. And that's all we're asking for. And just less of it, responsible levels of immigration, and only doing so when we actually have the capability to take care of our citizens and them. Because even like when you look at emergency lines, okay, it takes like 8 to sometimes 14 hours to see a doctor in the emergency. Okay, that's not helping us, but it's also not helping them when they come over here and they've been fed this lie that Canada has the best healthcare in all of the world. No, it doesn't. And now it's
You
overrun
know, someone told me
completely.
the other day, they
Mm.
messaged me and they said, Jess, you should look into this. They're at the Royal Alec
Mm.
and they were there 10 hours. It was all homeless
Yeah,
and a lot of immigrants. And basically, it was a prioritized thing because you can't say no to somebody who says they have a headache. And basically, a lot of them are sleeping there, getting fed. They're actually makeshift shelters as well.
so I've seen multiple videos of newcomers that have complained about our emergency. And they're like, it took me 8 hours to see someone. And then they told me, oh, I can go home and go see a walk-in doctor, like go to a walk-in clinic. So they're abusing the system. And then also the homeless people, a lot of them, they're doing drugs because those are considered safe injection sites. Like I almost lost my life a few years ago and I had to go to the Royal Alex. And it pained me because these people were just allowed to just take up space. But they did it on their own volition. This was their own willpower. They did this, and here I am fighting for my life. I have no control over it whatsoever. My fate is in the doctor's hands completely. So yeah, we need to fix everything. It's so bad. It's so bad.
Well, and the thing is about the thing with the people who say there's no young people who are willing to work is they're the same people who are claiming that they can't find a manager for
Right.
Dairy Queen for $70,000 to
It's lying.
$80,000.
They're
Like
lying.
they
That was
know
one of the ads, by the way.
they
Yeah.
know we know
Yeah.
they're lying. We know they're lying,
Yeah.
and they know we know they're lying.
Yeah,
I mean,
Apparently, the phone number was a dead end number.
of course it was.
oh, of course it was. You know,
Like, are we
because
surprised? No, we're not. Like,
yeah, I mean, because they run these ads
yeah.
just to pretend they went through the process, and the real fault is the government's actually not actually checking
Right.
into any of these claims. They're
They
not.
couldn't be bothered to actually do their fucking job.
Because you're supposed to
and
have to prove that you need a foreign worker to get a foreign worker. It's not supposed to be, it would be super convenient for me if I had
Right.
someone who, if they don't show up to work, I can threaten to send them back to wherever they
Exactly.
came from in India.
And that's a huge issue too, because we're talking about, oh, we're being disserviced as Canadians. They are too. Like Chris said, they're being threatened to be deported back if they don't show up for their shifts. They're being worked to the bone. They're working overtime. They're being all crammed into small houses,
Jan's houses. That's the type of house he wants.
pretty much. So we're cramming like 10, 12 people in maybe like a 2, 3 bedroom house. It's not fair for them either. So,
You know what's crazy is that while you guys have been talking, I've been trying to find out like what are the ER wait times in BC?
Oh,
Because
it's worse.
well, so like everyone shits on Alberta, and yeah, our ER times are between like 6 to 12 hours. But I'm like, okay, find out how easy it is to find information in BC, and it has been an absolute chore. Like there is
No,
nothing
it's harder to
published.
find a family doctor in BC and their wait times are worse.
Also, there's more
And they're
drugs
run
there,
by the
too.
NDP. So as much as you have like all of the NDP people in Alberta perpetually screaming that the problems with healthcare are the fault of the Conservative Party,
Right.
like BC's worse.
And did NDP do anything when they're in power here?
No, absolutely
No.
not. They just gave everyone a raise. That's the entire problem with Canadian healthcare, is that every time that we always have the people who work in the healthcare system saying we need more money. And
Right.
eventually someone says fine. And what happens when we put more money into the system? Everyone who works in healthcare gets a raise, and then
That's
the
it.
actual functioning of the system
Yeah.
remains shitty.
They don't employ more nurses. It's all the paper
Mm.
pushers at the top that are getting paid more.
It's this big bureaucratic
Right.
vacuum that just hoovers up money and produces lousy results.
So what's the solution to immigration?
Stop it.
So isn't some level of reasonableness?
Send them back.
Economic one?
So right now, in my own opinion, I don't think that we should have any immigrants whatsoever right now until we stabilize it, and then we can start implementing it in smaller amounts and then building it up to like an amount like where we had it with Stephen Harper. But that's many years down the road until we've stabilized our system, until wait times are decreased substantially for hospitals. Education is addressed, smaller classrooms. Again, these are all issues that stem from irresponsible immigration. So until we've had everything stabilized and people can actually work and
Afford
support their
houses again.
families, exactly, afford their houses, not have to live check to check and be one paycheck away from homelessness, until we've made strides with all of those issues, then we can entertain bringing them in small amounts. Because right now it should be zero, actually zero, in my opinion.
And your 0+ deport?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I want to deport too.
Well, I mean, if we have like 5 million people who don't have status in Canada, I mean, they don't belong here. I mean, legally, they're supposed to go back. So why aren't we
Right.
sending them back?
No, because they feel entitled now
Who
to
is
stay
that
here.
are here without the status? Like students? Or
Well, essentially, if you're on any kind of a visa
Visitor.
and it expires and it's not renewed, you don't belong in Canada.
Right.
what if
As
they've applied but it's backlogged?
Doesn't matter.
So here's the thing, even like their own government, they're corrupt. They'll tell them, oh yeah, we're gonna fill out these forms. They don't even disclose their criminal history, their actual education, anything like that. They give our government false information, and then they just feed them this lie that, yeah, you could just stay around there and they're not gonna care. You could become a Canadian citizen and they're gonna take care of you. And they
Yeah.
do.
But legally, if you're here on like a 30-day tourist visa and after 30 days it expires, we're supposed to find you and send you back.
Right.
That's what's supposed to happen.
We need ice so bad.
I
We
mean,
need
yeah,
our own
here's
ice.
one source of government jobs I actually support.
Yes, that would
Increasing
fix
the
so many
deportation
things.
ability of like
Yeah.
Immigration Canada.
Yeah.
If they're that and customs, I mean, we need way more people screening who's coming into the country and making sure people leave when they're supposed to.
But we don't even screen our ports.
Right.
Well, we got to do that too. We can't
Mhm.
screen like 1% of the various shipping containers that come into the country. Like that's an absurdly low number to screen.
Which is not surprising to me,
Yeah.
because a lot of them are affiliated with human trafficking, and the globalists are in on it. And I don't want to get into that conspiracy rabbit hole because I could go on forever. But yeah, we really need to fix this shit out.
What are your final
Because
thoughts
it's
on
not even-
immigration?
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
allowed to speak now.
Absolutely. Now you're allowed to speak. Just one more thing.
Oh my god.
It's also not good for the immigrants that have come here and actually made this place their home. They're actually paying taxes. They actually went and got an education. They're actually contributing to society. It's not just for Canadian-born people that were being disserviced. It's for them too. So, go.
All right. I think that, and this comes from having door knocked for 3 different elections, right? 2 municipal and a provincial, and talking with people who are immigrants in this country, and they followed all the rules, they did all the right things,
Right.
and they are upset by the people who seem to jump the queue or they use some bullshit excuse to get through. I think we've done a disservice to immigrants by allowing unchecked immigration, and we haven't applied rules evenly, and we've carved out exceptions with zero justification. We've allowed we've allowed a population to blow out of control without any consideration for the economy, for housing, for any infrastructure, and whether that be healthcare, whether that be education, and any attempt at trying to do something to resolve it is viewed and vilified as racist and bigoted and
Right.
awful. But the reality is that you owe it to, as an elected official, good governance is you owe it to the people who are citizens. You owe it to the people who are permanent residents. You owe it to the people who followed the rules and did everything right. And now they, even though they may not like, they're not born here, but now they're angry and they're looking at it like, why should we have followed the rules if they're not going to matter? I think
Exactly.
immigration needs to be overhauled. I think if possible, yes, you should pause it because I think you need to pause, take a breath, and go, what is this going to look like in the future? Because right now we are destabilized. And I think with so many different competing cultures in the country, and as we've heard time and again, Canada has no core culture, which I think is bullshit.
It
Right?
is
We heard that from
bullshit. We
Trudeau. I
do
think
have
it's
culture
bullshit.
here. We have values.
I think that it all becomes a strongman competition,
Mhm.
and we need to stop that because the country that you love, ladies and gentlemen,
It's
whether
gone.
you're left or right, the country that you love, the foundational things that built this country are going to disappear unless you're willing to fight for them. And sometimes that means making difficult decisions and having hard conversations. But if we don't have them, we might as well just give up.
Right. Absolutely. So I said I want the number to be 0 for immigration. What's the number you want right now?
I want 0 plus.
Zero.
I agree with
Plus
both
deport.
of you.
Yeah.
A 0 with deport.
Well, he still wants immigration. Last time I checked.
No,
Or has he?
we need to essentially get all of these people out of here.
Right, but what's the number
And,
for immigration
well, I
for you?
mean, once we've paused it, once we've started deporting all the people who don't belong here, maybe we can go back at that point to like 100,000, like we had in the early 2000s. Like that was a sustainable number.
Yeah, but
We
we're
could
still too
absorb,
far
we
gone.
could absorb that many people. It's when you're dumping 1 million new people into a country of 30 some million every year. It's completely unsustainable.
Yeah,
There's
but if
not the infrastructure. I mean, that's basically like putting a new Edmonton into Canada every year.
I'm going to give Chris an opportunity because I think we can both agree on this. So,
Yeah.
Chris, you're a big fan of the Roman Empire.
Oh, absolutely.
What is it that eventually led to their downfall?
The Black Plague, firstly. Secondly, they lost control of their borders because they were essentially allowing barbarian tribes to cross and settle in, and they were outsourcing their actual security to foreigners. All of which sounds suspiciously like what the Liberal Party of Canada likes to do. I mean, we're a Black Plague away from resembling the downfall of the Roman Empire.
We had that. It's called COVID.
We're
No, they're
debasing
talking
our
about a new one.
we're debasing
so
our
I'm waiting.
currency. We're outsourcing our security to foreign countries, and we're letting people from foreign countries just settle in our country however they want, and exercising no real control over it. So, I mean, if you want a historical precedent for nations being rended to pieces, the Roman Empire's just there saying hello and waving a red flag for you all to watch. I mean, on that note, Merry Christmas, everyone. On this cheery note, we're ending on apparently.
I know.
So everything's going to hell, but Merry Christmas, guys.
Well, I will say that the merry note, the happy note that we can end on is there are more people who are starting to push back. There are more people who are starting to look at it and demand better answers.
That's right.
And it's not just us, but I recommend everyone viewing to find clips, and I'll try and see if I can share some of them. Clips of the media finally holding liberal ministers to account and challenging them. And one of them, I forget his name, but he'll be in the clip. He said, "Oh well, we've tabled a lot of legislation," and the journalist goes, "Yeah, but tabling it isn't passing it. So what have you
Right.
actually done?"
Exactly.
And this is the thing. It's not just the people who have to be mad because we can sit here and we can bitch and moan and complain and argue, and we'll differ and dicker over ideology. But when the media finally gets on board with it, the mainstream media, as much as we have issues with them,
Yeah.
when they finally get on board with it and say, you know what, this stinks, that's when major change can happen. So guess what? My prediction for the new year is that in the next 6 to 8 months, we're going to have a federal election. And that I think Carney and Elbows Up and all the stuff that didn't really work out, he's going to be shown that he's all smoke. and mirrors, right? It's all promises and not actual accomplishments
Mhm.
that will get a conservative government. And then the biggest thing will be, can we actually show up to the party? Can we, by which I mean, can we actually do the things we say we're going to do? And please, God, govern well, because please save this country.
If we
Yeah.
get a majority, we'll be able to push so many policies through. We'll be able to
I know,
pass
but
bills.
my worry is like, can we get it? Because I actually asked this of Pierre once at before he was the leader of the party, right? He was working for the leadership, and so he was very tired, and I appreciated his time because he was making time for everyone. And I said, just don't, when you get into power and when you form government, just don't be like the other guys, right? Do well.
I don't think he can be like the other guys because the other MPs are going to hold him accountable. Our party's pretty good for that, except for those floor crossings.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, nothing clarifies the mind like the threat of imminent demise. And essentially, that's where the country's at. We're at the point of economic ruin because we've had a decade or so of the Liberals being against business. They've been against natural resource exploitation, which is really what Canada's wheelhouse is. We've got stuff the world wants to buy,
Right.
and they're against us digging it out of the earth and selling it to them. Like everything else is just, that is the bedrock of our economy, and everything else is built upwards from it like a pyramid. Most of us are up here at the top, like whether it's selling coffee or paint or performing legal services. We're at the tippy top of the pyramid. We rely on all of the other things underpinning the economy, whether it's people in oil and gas or agriculture or forestry, whatever. That is the bedrock. And then people supplying them with stuff is on top of that. And then on top of that is all the people selling services to all the other people below them. That's how the economy fundamentally works. And the problem the Liberals have is they've been spending money like it's going out of style while they've been taking an axe and trying to prevent the bedrock of the economy from actually working. So they've been hollowing out the country in this way. So we don't really have a choice when the Conservatives get into power. It has to be all killer, no filler. I mean, it can't be like a couple of good things and the rest of it's just fluff.
Right.
They have to go in there, and it can't just be a moderate agenda. It has to be drastic changes because of the way the country is.
Right.
We have to have like a complete 180 on how we're dealing with the economy. It has to be a 180 on how we're dealing with criminal law. It has to be a 180 on how we're dealing with immigration. And we have to come to all these municipalities which are charging 50 to 100 grand on development charges for housing and condos and everything else, and just say, nah, if you want transfers from us, that shit stops now. You're not doing this dumb shit anymore. And we're actually going to build things in this country. Get out of the way or get run over by the train.
There's our cue. Our camera just clicked.
Yeah, I think our camera just clicked.
Okay.
So
well, if the
we're
camera
gonna
just
insert
died,
some clips right now.
we'll insert some clips. And you know what? There's actually, I will end with some other good news, is that the reason why things are going to improve is because there's people that are willing to make a stand and demand accountability.
Amen.
So if you haven't seen Jesse Watson's Instagram, if you haven't followed him there, Jesse Freag, I highly recommend you do, because he's relentless when it comes to holding the city accountable, as we all should. My name's Danny Hakenin.
Chris Babeluck.
Michelle Badela.
Jesse Watson, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to
Yeah,
you,
Merry
from our
Christmas,
families
everyone.
to yours. Merry Christmas. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to unleashing in the new year.
And please like, subscribe, and follow the channel. Share it to help us with the algorithm.
Thank you, Chris.